the largest online sports pirate.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys for clicking back in. Almost started the video, but before we get started, if you can just like and subscribe, that would be all appreciated. Without further hesitation, let's get back into this video. Oh yeah, and we're watching about a guy from a video from Kid Kame 11 talking about why is it so hard to shut down STREAMEAST. I clicked on this video because I was recently, be honest, trying to find a way to pirate the NFL game, and was unsuccessful at doing so. But let's hear bro talk about it.
Piracy network in the world has been shut down by law enforcement. Oh my God, they shut down STREAMEAST. Oh my God. Yo, we just found the next STREAMEAST from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What about Lieutenant Surge or this guy? About a week ago now, the New York Times' sports newspaper, The Athletic, reported that STREAMEAST, the world's largest illegal streaming platform, was shut down. This was huge news and subsequently picked up by major news outlets all across the world. The scourge of the internet, the enemy of progress to major sports leagues that enchant the hearts of millions worldwide. They were finally freed from the shackles of the cruel and cold STREAMEAST. The NBA, the UFC, Premier League, NFL, all our beloved billion-dollar companies could now make their money in peace. But of course, that's not what happened. This victory against illegal sports streaming actually wasn't won at all. LeBron James, who my cousin Lawrence exposed last year at AAU, could very well still be using STREAMEAST. All he has to do is, instead of typing in STREAMEAST.app, is type in STREAMEAST.sk. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. .app to SK, that's it. And STREAMEAST is there in all of its evil glory. So the question is now, why did the world's biggest news organizations get this story wrong? It clearly wasn't the truth, so what are they hiding? Well, my friends, we're going to uncover that and more this time on Kid Kame 11.
And let me check about that STREAMEAST SK. I'm glad that I clicked on this video.
And believe me, the truth is much crazier than what it seems. So first off, let's take a look at the article that came out. World's largest sports piracy site shut down by police, says the BBC. If we look a little further down in the article, we can find where the source is coming from. The Alliance of Creativity and Entertainment, or ACE for short. BBC reported directly from ACE's press release, which says, in collaboration with Egyptian authorities, ACE, the world's leading anti-piracy coalition, today announced the shutdown of the notorious piracy network STREAMEAST. Through its 80 associated domains, the network logged more than 1.6 billion visits in the past year, making it the largest illicit live sports streaming operation in the world. So the way the story goes is that ACE, an anti-piracy group, worked with police in Egypt to shut down the oh-so-notorious STREAMEAST for good. But there's not many details to go off of in this press release. But thankfully, ACE had the courtesy to share some extra insider information with The Athletic, but not with me. Please subscribe so I can get some more credibility. Where we learned that there were two men that were arrested on suspicion of copyright infringement law a few miles west of Egypt's capital city, Cairo, in a raid that seized.
And that's crazy that all of this was going down. I wouldn't even known. This must have been a huge, thing. I bet they're making money. They're making probably a lot of money. That's crazy. I want to learn more about it.
Laptops and phones that were suspected to be operating devices. They also said that the Egyptians had set up a fake company in Dubai where they were sending the money they made from illegal streaming, which was a total of over $6 million, some of which they used to buy real estate properties in Egypt. Dismantling STREAMEAST is a major victory for everyone who invests and relies on the live sports ecosystem, said Ed McCarthy, COO of the Zone Group. This criminal operation was siphoning value from sports at every level and putting fans across the world at risk. Wait, so awesome. Ace took down the bad guys. I'm so stoked. But here's the kicker. In the official STREAMEAST Discord, yeah, that is a thing, a stream site moderator by the name of Quick claimed that the Egyptians were a group that were using the STREAMEAST name to create fake websites. We have not been raided, and our streams will continue as usual. Wait, so what gives, Ace? And wait a minute.
Who are you?
Is Ace a part of the government, or are they part of this super secret agency that fights pirates on the high seas? Let's take a look.
The Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment, a global coalition dedicated to combating piracy,
Okay, that's great. What we have here is a bunch of media companies, commonly referred to as rights holders, who have all come together to fight piracy. And if we turn back the clock a little bit, we can see a familiar logo. The Motion Picture Association, the company we see at the start of every single film. They, along with other entertainment companies in the US, we're dealing now with a new age of piracy. The Great Pirate Age, so to speak. The world evolving from CD rips and camcorder captures into instantaneous high-quality streaming. Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Warner Bros., and others, typically very huge rivals, teamed up in order to combat these evolving technologies. Around the same time, the MPA hired the former U.S. French ambassador Charles Rivkin to lead the charge and help out with anti-piracy efforts.
If your child has used Roblox, you might be owed significant compensation from a lawsuit currently underway. Find out if you qualify. While marketed as safe for children, Roblox has allegedly become what investigators call... Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Rivkin, the chairman and CEO of the Motion Picture Association.
So why should we care? It just seems like it's a bunch of companies that are trying to maintain the cash that they're already taking from us. Well, before we jump to conclusions, let's hear Charlie out.
When IP rights are threatened, innovation is hampered, which means our favorite...
And you know what's crazy is they use taxpayer money to pay for these stadiums. You know what I mean? We pay the players' salary, right? Yeah, we also gotta pay to watch the game that we already contribute to. That, to me, is crazy because there's taxes on food, there's taxes on clothes, there's taxes damn near on everything, right? The stores are getting taxed, we are getting taxed, we're taxing people, shit. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this is a whole bunch of bullshit, And I was saying that they are a company, and these leagues are companies, but, damn, how much you trying to fuck us over? Let us at least watch the illegal pirate version, maybe get a fucking virus or something,
Movies may never even be produced. Our favorite songs may never be recorded. Our economy suffers. And all of us bear the cost.
Oh, what a horror. But wait, it gets worse.
Piracy is existential to our industry. It's an existential threat for our industry. Piracy is an existential threat to the entertainment industry. This is organized crime. This is equivalent of the mafia. They're involved with child pornography, with illegal, drugs, with all the ills of society.
And Ace stands on this very concept through this very beautifully made advertising.
Here you go, babe.
Thank you.
Check this out.
I didn't even know this was out yet.
It's not, but I have my ways.
Which was well received by fans of the organization. Look, it's Fido! Oh man, if Fido can't get the bad guys, who can? So these are the kind of arguments that these big corporations come up with, attempting to dress up their greed by feigning concern for the consumers. Let's take a look at this post. It's an anti-piracy ad, and on the post, probably looking for some more engagement, it says, "Watch to the end for a treat. Paw emoji, dog emoji." And you watch to the end, right? It's an extra 5 seconds on the original ad, and it's just a dog biting on a chew toy. It's like they thought, oh, people love dogs. Let's add one at the end. Make sure they watch the whole thing. And guess what? No likes, no comments, it flops. I'll let you know, one of my hugest pet peeves is corporations trying to act human. It's like biting into a burger and tasting plastic. Regardless of their marketing disconnects, Ace is still very powerful. Off the strength of having 50 of the biggest companies in the world, providing their resources and connections in the fight to keep consumers buying their increasingly fragmented and expensive products. Immediately after their inception, they went after Atlanta, as they should. They submitted a lawsuit to a company called Tickbox, a company that sold TV boxes that would give you free cable on all channels for just $150. The proceedings made it to court, where Tickbox was hit with a permanent injunction and a $25 million fine. It was the first
Damn, where the fuck do I find this shit at, bro? I should have known about Kickbox.
down of many when it came to piracy organizations. Under the flags of Ace, they fought pirates all over the seven seas. And I mean that literally, too. They've worked to take down piracy organizations in Algeria, Australia, Argentina, Germany, Serbia, Peru, Singapore, Thailand, and many more, with the majority of their cases coming from the United States. And just last year, they added Larissa Knopp, the former fourth highest ranking member in the FBI, to join their cause. So yeah, they've got some serious firepower, like serious.
We have
hundreds of our employees on the dark web. We know exactly where these bad guys are, where they live.
I'd be afraid,
When they steal things, and we present airtight cases to local law enforcement around the world, and they send in the teams to break up the rings.
So now comes the question that I'm sure you're asking by now. If they've got all of these resources, how come they didn't take down the real STREAMEAST? Well, soon, my friends. But before that, let's hear from Dana White, CEO of the UFC, talking about a pirate streaming one of his fights.
We're watching his house. We're listening to his phone conversations. And when he puts it up on Saturday, we got him. And we will arrest him. And I will prosecute him.
Yeah, that just never happened. In fact, it's actually not against the law in the great United States of America to stream pirated content. Yes, that is correct. If you don't download anything, you are not breaking the law. The illegal part is the distribution of content. But even that isn't so easy to prosecute. The UFC was able to hone in on a pirate back in 2014 by the name of Steven Messina, known as Secludely. The UFC reportedly won a settlement that forced him to make a public apology and pay $40 million to the UFC. But in an interview that he did with an independent outlet, Torrent Freak, in 2020, he says that while the UFC bullied him, he didn't have to pay a dime of the 40 M's he was charged. Just for his lawyer, actually. In fact, what happened was that the UFC asked for his permission on Fox Sports about him apologizing. Thing is, though, he didn't apologize at all. The statement that we find on Fox Sports: "I now realize the harm caused by my actions. It is my hope that I can use this difficult period as a learning experience as I move on with my life. I would also like to tell anyone pirating UFC broadcasts, either through illegal downloading or non-authorized streaming, that it is illegal and not worth the risk." Secludely responded with, "Whoever wrote this can kiss my ass." But back to Dana White. This statement that he made was in preparation to the massive Conor McGregor-Dustin Poirier fight, a momentous affair in the UFC. ESPN Plus was the sole provider for the match.
Them motherfuckers got huge cauliflower ears. That is crazy.
And they were met with over 1.3 million people attempting to log into the platform, which, guess what? Crashed the servers. People couldn't watch. It got to the point where other UFC fighters and JJ Watt complaining about the stream that they paid $70 for not working. At one point, UFC fighter Ian Highness tweeted, "Okay, I'm done. Send me illegal streams." He was deleted shortly after. Now, the funny thing is that until 2020 in the US, hosting illegal streams wasn't really that illegal. It was classified as a misdemeanor, on the same level as disorderly conduct, shoplifting, or jaywalking. Things that are illegal, sure, but nothing anyone would consider a serious crime. This changed with the Protecting Lawful Streaming Act of 2020, which, by the way, had to be snuck into the United States' COVID relief bill, due to a bad rap that anti-streaming laws have with technology companies. For those who don't know, Congress tried to pass an anti-streaming and anti-piracy bill in 2012, known as SOPA, and half the internet literally shut down in protest. So despite the Protecting Lawful Streaming Act being much less restrictive than the time in 2012, politicians had to literally sneak their way around, adding this legislation in what was a must-pass bill for Congress, for obvious reasons. In doing so, they made hosting illegal streams actually illegal, prosecutable now up to 10 years in prison. This summer,
wow, that's crazy as hell, and its power is crazy.
5 people were given 18 months up to 7 years in prison for running the streaming service Jetflix, in the largest US online piracy bust of all time. But still, piracy platforms prevail. Every now and then you have one that goes down, but then you have 10 more to choose from. For example, Zoro.to was a very popular pirate anime streaming service. The day it went down, it was a very sad day for some people. A very sad day. But those same people the very next day just moved on to the next domain. Why is this? Well, there's 2 questions for us here to unpack. One is, why are takedowns so infrequent? Well, for one, a lot of these streaming sites are based outside of the United States. Ace is pretty good when it comes to taking down national programs. Out of all the orgs they take down, which they post very proudly in their news section of their site, a majority of them actually come from the US. I mean, when you have a FBI leader and 50 very angry American companies with access to courts and judge and etc., that's what happens. But that power doesn't really extend over the sea. Take F-Movies, for example, one of the world's largest video piracy sites. There was a hearing in Congress about 2 years ago with Ace and some other people, and an Ace representative explained to Congress why it was so hard to take down.
If we sent them a takedown notice, they are not going to take it down. They are also often located overseas, so the DMCA doesn't even apply necessarily to them. Only way that we can go after those types of sites is through a lot of civil enforcement enforcement, a lot of, trying to get law enforcement overseas to actually go after the sites. But if we are not able to get law enforcement overseas, then site blocking is the only remedy we have for the United States.
The pirates were in Vietnam. So what does it mean exactly when she's talking about blocking? Well, she's referring to the practice of taking certain domain names, like STREAMEAST.app, and taking them offline or replacing them with a notice for all to see. You might be familiar with the supposed STREAMEAST takedown of 2024, where it seemed like the FBI had seized STREAMEAST for good. That was one of those times. They used domain blocking, where the U.S. Department of Justice's Homeland Security Investigations Unit randomly took down some domain names, with main ones including STREAMEAST.io and STREAMEAST.xyz. Instead of now taking you to the homepage, they would take you to a big scary banner declaring, "This domain name has been seized by Homeland Security Investigations." This prompted a bit of a scare on social media, but Quick of STREAMEAST responded, "This is not a problem. They need to see they can't stop us this way. We own over 400 domains in total. We will never give up this fight." And that was that. And today, there are others that will take you to a STREAMEAST homepage, most likely taken over by some other fake STREAMEAST clone. And guess what's more? STREAMEAST actually wanted to appeal to the US government to get their site names back.
Grand Canyon University is ranked among the top 25 best college campuses in America. And in 2023, traditional campus students received a...
I don't know. Did I hear that right? Let me see if I'm still recording. Did this motherfucker...
Acquired the paper...
Hold on. So, they sued StreamEast... Wait. Took the domain... Or they got the domain from StreamEast. They got it back? Wow.
They can't stop us this way.
Wow.
Over 400 domains in total. We will never give up this fight. And that was that. And today, there are others that will take you to a STREAMEAST homepage, most likely taken over by some other fake STREAMEAST clone. And guess what's more? STREAMEAST actually wanted to appeal to the US government to get their site names back. They acquired the paperwork and were ready to challenge it in court. It sounds crazy, but this actually worked 12 years ago with another piracy site in Spain called Roja Directa. And guess what? After they got their domain seized by the government, they were able to appeal and get it back, and it still works to this day. So then it leads us to our next question, right? Why are there so many different sites? To fully understand this, I went to most likely the world's foremost expert on this matter, Ernesto van der Sar, the founder and lead contributing author of Torn Freak, the news site that's literally been the source of 90% of this video. Since 2006, Ernesto's been covering piracy, all the way back to when Spotify was a pirate site its own self. He knows his stuff. I asked him why there's so many sites that give us such high quality streams and why the government can't take them down. In regards to the government, he said that it was simply because it's ineffective. StreamEast was literally up within hours of the FBI takedown, and the sites that they brought up to the plate are still working to this day. They could theoretically go and build criminal cases for the operators, but that's time consuming and expensive, and it might not even work. The countries that these operators are in, which Ernesto told me could range anywhere from Northern Africa to Eastern Europe and Eastern Asia, a lot of governments don't really care. Av Movies was shut down thanks to the collaboration of Ace and the Vietnamese government. But the main culprits, the masterminds behind an illegal site that had over 300 million monthly visitors and made over $400,000, got 0 prison time, just parole and an alleged $16,000 fine. The FBI lady, Miss Knott, literally said that half the time, her job is to get people in governments to care. And get this year the US called Vietnam a piracy haven, despite having helped to take down F Movies and Zoro.to, which was also based in Vietnam. There are still plenty of pirate services running down there.
Wow.
Happened. If anything, the only reason it seemed like the Vietnamese government collaborated with the US was because they were about to make a tour to Hollywood and wanted to get in the US's good graces. The only reason. And as we can see between the US and the rest of the world, there's bigger fish to fry. So that's a big hurdle for our hero Ace to overcome, right? But then there's another added wrinkle. It's actually pretty easy to make a site, all things considered. You might think that there's some trickery going on to make the screens, but not really. I remember back in like crack streams earlier days, it was super easy to tell that someone was literally just streaming like the 2017 NBA draft from their computer. Good times. The stream would buffer on his computer and you can see him moving the mouse to refresh the stream. It was fun. But it was also really rudimentary. The stream quality back then was very bad. But now in 2025, when watching the NBA Finals at my friend's place, who has YouTube TV, an illegal streaming site ended up having better quality for the alleged people to use. The reason they're able to get this kind of quality now is by hooking up with a quote-unquote source feed. So instead of streaming off their computer, they get the live stream from another website whose exclusive purpose is to sell streams to host websites. And while STREAMEAST, whose mission statement is making streaming free until sports becomes affordable, may not have criminal ties, a lot of these source feed sites do. They'll be from all over the place. You might notice if you're watching a stream, a Russian ad. That's probably because the source feed is from Russia, or Thailand, Morocco, or Egypt, as we saw. In fact, when STREAMEAST got targeted by the feds, Quick quite literally said, "I wish the USA would choose to deal with these gangs instead of targeting us. Pirates against pirates, like." And as Ernesto told me, for people it's a surefire, easy way to make money. It's the same deal for the source feeds as well, who likely use that money to fuel criminal enterprise. Because at the end of the day, that is what illegal streaming is, an enterprise, and a pretty freaking lucrative one at that. And overall, as long as you're not running a ridiculous amount of traffic, you don't really have to worry about criminal prosecution, especially if you live in a country that doesn't care. Listen, F-Movie was one of the biggest sites in the world, period, and the co-founders got off essentially scot-free. It's a low-risk, high-reward play if you have the resources and are in the right place. I mean, you just buy some domain names, which are probably just a few dollars, build a site, buy from the source, and then you're off to the races. That's why we have so many options to choose from. With lack of enforcement and opportunity of capital to be made, illegal streaming for these people is...
So I'm pretty sure these are literally names that he's giving us. He's dropping them.
Which brings us all the way back to our town 20 miles west of Cairo. How come these people got caught? Well, it was an alignment of factors. One, Ace has added BN and DAZN sports groups to their two companies that are very interested in taking down sports streaming and not US exclusive. Two, they reach out to Egyptian police who they got to actually care about the case. And three, most likely, that there was actionable evidence regarding the money that was made, including the real estate properties in Egypt and the shell company in Dubai. Everything came together in order to give these guys the hammer. But these guys were phony, Kip. I mean, yeah, they were. They were literally only using STREAMEAST names to bring in more viewers, which worked very well, by the way. They were getting more traffic than the original STREAMEAST. But that's the thing. It was fake! Ernesto asked Ace if they knew they were taking down the real STREAMEAST. And they dodged the question. That's because they knew good and damn well they weren't taking down the original STREAMEAST. But they did take down 80 domain names. That's a lot. So they fed the information of the case to The Athletic and let it be known. Coincidentally, right before the NFL season began, that STREAMEAST was no more. They wanted to craft the story into a huge victory, Ernesto told me. But of course, we know that isn't the case. And what this tells me is that even though these companies are making a stand against piracy, the waters may be too choppy and the pirates too mighty to do anything.
Yeah, I learned a lot from this video. Let me know what y'all learned down in the comments. But this was a most definitely interesting video. I'm most definitely going to use the websites that he dropped down, and I'm very glad that he did that. So give him a subscribe, because I'm finna subscribe right now. And with that, y'all have a great rest of y'all day.